Hello again, and welcome back to the evaluation series. If you have been following along with us, we've already configured pretty much all of our VMs, the executive, the CAA, and the two DNS DHCP appliances we're going to use. And we're going to go ahead and log back into the system, and again, as incadmin, and that should be HTTPS, your IP address, :8443 is the URL. My session has expired. If you had followed along, yours may have too. Let me go ahead and log back in. All right, and so in our first login screen, we really are just an empty database at this particular point. From a navigation perspective, and I'll cover this in detail, and then I'm going to cover in the actual setup of the appliances we've gone through, and then the various other details we need to cover here. But to begin with, just go ahead and click on the home page. So there's a home tab on the top of the navigation bar, and that brings you to this page where you can either add or remove different functions or different little modules to the front page. So the first thing you'll see as we start to build out the networks, you'll see how the addresses are used, how the license is applied, and how many IP addresses are part of that license. And then you'll have the number of virtual appliances that are allowed, so whether you have a maximum number or a minimum number. And we would typically have 4 or 5 different appliances based on the evaluation series. More importantly, there's some IPControl documentation in the additional section here that you can click through for the user guide. There's a quick start, API CLIs, and the install guide we went through. This video series isn't particularly covering the SQL replication, but I'll have a separate video for replication, DR recovery, and we'll go through some tasks for that. So keep in mind where those are, and then of course our support desk is at that number, and that should take you to our support center where you would have a login for the evaluation when registered. You can also change your passwords here, log on, log off, and a few basic administrative functions. So incadmin by default is our application master, if you will, and we then will from here go through some other configurations. All right, so the other navigation then, we break this out by DNS, DHCP, and IPAN. So if we look at DDI, we invert it because we kind of build this application from an IPAN perspective down, and DNS, DHCP kind of being their own columns in this particular realm of address management. So the various functions we'll have here are the container views. So as we start to look at the navigational system, there's going to be a view where we would have a day-to-day navigation and would work through this. And then there's going to be a maintenance function where we'll be able to add, delete, modify these containers as we kind of build out the hierarchy in the systems. So keep that in mind. There's also going to be a subnet network view that's going to give you a hierarchical aspect of the network space once defined. And then we'll go through some discovery and some other aspects of the tool. The DNS columns, we're going to go through the DNS servers, which will, when we build the Sapphire, are going to automatically create these for us. But if we are interacting with Microsoft, or if we're interacting with a third party, which I'm going to go ahead and show, I think in one of these videos, I'll set up a Windows 2016 server. And then with DHCP, we're going to set up our appliances as a primary failover, and this is where we would define and configure any of its options through option sets or policies. And then we have custom options that can be defined to the master dictionary and then applied to different vendors. And by vendor, I mean that through defaults, IPControl, we ship ISC DHCP, Kia DHCP, and the Q DHCP. We support Cisco CNR and Microsoft DHCP of different types. So with Microsoft, we go down, I think 2022 here is in this version. And we have an agent that allows us to manage scopes on those servers or to collect leases. So there are a number of different product and vendors. We're going to be dealing with the Diamond IP Sapphire for appliances in this process. Okay. And then as we get into more reporting, you're going to see some of the auditing, utilization alerts, and then you'll see some DNS zone reports and things that are helpful as we move forward, but also, those auditing of policies and address match lists and domains, IPs, and things. Tools maintains where we'll have the system policies and options. So whenever we say, hey, go see the policies and options, that's under here, where we also apply your license key, and then you'll have your various allow, disallow policies for auditing, and how we're going to go through some functions. For the start of this video series, I'm going to leave this empty, but we're going to maybe come back and modify some of these as we move forward with some external authentication, some things there. Okay, but also under tools is where we manage the appliances, where we control and manage the administrative roles and administrators, also cloud credentials, the cloud appliance, where we have callouts that we can, for these transactions, send JSON payloads to this CAA appliance and process it further. Naming policies, device types, which are custom types and policies. These are going to be things you're going to want to plan kind of ahead of time because they do have different policies applied to them with user-definable fields, which come up often. And in the regards of user-defined fields, we're going to set up some and go through this step a little bit later as we walk through some of the IPM features. Okay, so I'm going to stop this video here just from a navigation perspective. A couple more things, maybe with another half second or two. The auditing is searching, and up in this particular space here is where you would be searching for subnet or IP address, and a more search to allow you to do drop downs for subnets and what type of field information you're searching with, and we'll be able to do things like wildcard searches or others too. So this will be your basic navigation bar here, the search and the additional search functions. There's a couple policies under the setting here for your time formats. So however you want this to be displayed to you personally, and this is where you'll set it up, I guess, globally for the whole system here. And then as we start to deploy tasks and interact with DNS DHCP, there's going to be the task link, which will be here. Everything will be listed with the ability to filter on this left-hand pane. There's going to be alerts that we'll set up for utilization, options for IP deletes and resource record delete restores, and then your custom portal that you'll be able to add your own information to. Okay, so that's the navigation of this and how we'll kind of start off, and I'm going to come back to the next video and go through the Sapphire client setup. See you then.